Hey guys, how you doing today? Um, so a couple of big electoral news pieces. The provincial government in BC is now NDP, and it looks like the NDP government has basically eliminated the Conservative and Liberal government, Liberal parties rather, from the electoral process in British Columbia. To me, that's actually huge news. It's what the entire country needs to be doing. The sociopathic conservatives and the complicit go-along liberals need to be expunged completely. And we need to be paying very close attention to who's in those ranks currently to ensure that they never enter electoral politics ever again. We are entering a period of time, like, the feedback loops are going to begin. If you don't know what I'm talking about, right? Like, we were on this trajectory, this sort of linear trajectory, and the idea was always that, okay, well, we can pull it back and we can kind of pull down, right? But eventually it's going to go to where even if we did start to pull down, the feedback loops themselves are just going to keep propelling it upwards. So as we continue to ignore climate change and as we continue to listen to these sociopaths and complicit idiots in the Liberal Party and the Conservative Party, every day we continue listening to these losers, is going to be an extra year of us not only needing to completely eliminate fossil fuels, but also needing to do massive reform, massive terraforming, massive projects in order to keep the damage that we have inflicted on our ecosystem from destroying us completely. At this stage in the game, I don't think it's possible to avoid food shortages. I don't think it's possible to avoid famine. But I mean, the conservative position seems really obvious. Just plunder as much as you can, and then if it becomes a problem to us, we'll just retreat into our gated communities and use the police to dominate the poor and working class. That's really obviously the conservative position, and it looks like the liberal position too. Like, the liberals are doing the absolute, like, screamingly bare minimum to try and pretend. Like, they'll try and look at us and be like, see, we were fighting. Like, we were fighting. No, you weren't. No, you weren't. Like, a conservative will, like, put your head underwater and drown you on purpose to steal your money, right? Like, how I've come to think about it is, if you're in a pool of water, right, and you're treading water, and you can't get out, and you need someone's help, well, a conservative is a guy who comes by and drowns you to steal what's in your pocket, and then says something like, well, if you hadn't have fallen in the pool, you wouldn't need any help. Something like that. A liberal is a person who will come by and go, keep swimming, you're doing great, and then walk away. And then, like, an NDP is somebody who will, like, maybe throw you a floaty or something. Which is nice, like, throw you a floaty, but they're not getting you out of the pool. They're not interested in that, right? This is why I'm in, like, moving into communism, and why I'm moving into joining the Communist Party and trying to be part of the communist movement, such that it exists here in Canada. Because we need to get these people out of the fucking pool, right? Like, fuck these nightmare conservative sociopaths. Fuck these lame, idiot, lazy, loser liberals. Fuck these orange liberal NDPs. Like, fuck them. Do something, right? The minute that the NDP took socialism out of their platform, I'm sorry, that's the end of it for me. Not interested. Not interested, because if you're not even trying for socialism, that just makes you a capitalist, and capitalist is an irredeemable psychopathic system that destroys everything it touches. But at least the BC voters are starting to figure out that we need to abandon the conservatives and the liberals en masse. Like, they're unelectable as far as I'm concerned. Like, I think if you're voting conservative, I think there's something wrong with your brain. And if you're voting liberal, I mean, I kind of get where you're at. Like, there's still this, like, oh, I need to vote liberal because they have the most support, and if I don't vote liberal, then the conservative... And I get that the system's framed to be that way, so I don't think that there's something wrong with your brain, but I'm positive if you're voting liberal, it's the only thing you're doing, right? I'm positive if you're voting liberal, it's literally the only political action you take. So, and I'm the lazy one. Oh, I got it. Other big news, Chile, voted, their populace voted, huge majority voted to be rid of Pinochet's constitution and actually write a democratic constitution for the country. It's a huge percentage, right? It was 22% of the populace, 22% of the populace were against it. And so that's one of those things where we should celebrate. It's correct to celebrate. It's correct to say, hey, something good happened in the world. But I'm past that. I'm past. I'm too cynical now. I'm too cynical, and I'm too. I've been betrayed too often by the political class, and I think I've seen too much of what the sociopaths are willing to do, and 22% of the populace voting against redoing the Constitution in a more democratic form means that there's every fifth person you meet in Chile is a sociopath, right? It's just how it is. That's just how it is. Like, every fifth person you meet is totally fine to stand by and watch your children get kidnapped, is totally fine to stand by and watch your life get plunged into poverty and destitution. 1 in 5. Completely fine with it in Chile. And, I mean, that makes sense. That's about how it is here in Canada. I mean, every conservative voter, they don't give a shit if you fall into poverty and die. They don't care at all. They'll just stand by and say something snide to you. Like, well, if you wanted to not be poor, you should get a better job, right? That's basically what that is. It's just this sort of inability to feel empathy, this inability to feel emotion for other people, which is baked into our system at this point. It's why capitalism needed to fight against the humanities so badly. It's why when I went into the humanities, and when I graduated from the humanities, I was mocked for it, right? Because capitalism has no place for the humanities, because capitalism isn't human. You can't be a human in the capitalist system. You're not allowed. You need to be a cog in their little death machine. That is plunging us further and further every day. I mean, my major position at this point is that we should be rounding these capitalists up and trying them for treason. The multiple crimes that they are 100% guilty of, and the only reason they're able to stay away from legal repercussion is because they own the political system. That they bribe the politicians, they bribe people in power, so that they will just stay hands off, right? And they let them in to the game, right? Like, when the Panama Papers came out, Justin Trudeau and Bill Morneau were named, right? They're involved in that. They're skipping out on their taxes. They're not paying their fair share, right? That just gets swept under the rug. People just ignore that. And we're all just supposed to go along with it. That's the thing that kills me, man. People are just going along with it. I can't believe that. Like, my whole life, I grew up being taught that, like, Nazism is wrong, fascism is wrong. Never again. We should stand up against these forces, right? And here we are, in a position where we need to be standing up against these forces, and millions of people are going to sleep through it. not only sleep through it, but actively fight for their own destruction. I use the analogy all the time, and I think it's completely accurate. It really is as if we are being attacked by an invading force, and a third of the population is not only denying that it's happening, but they're working with the invaders. And then another third of the populace is saying, oh, we should just negotiate with the invaders, and maybe if we just offer small tepid reforms, the invaders will not invade us and murder our children. And then the other third is just so ground into the earth and unable to even find their feet, because the first two groups are grinding them into perpetual poverty, forcing them to work longer hours, forcing them to work harder, forcing them into a life that no human should live at all. Like the inhumanity of capitalism and the inhumanity of the people who exist within the capitalist system is astounding and shocking. And we deserve what's coming, without a doubt. Without a doubt, we deserve what's coming. When it starts to happen to us, my hope is that once the food shortages begin and people actually begin to see that these conservatives were sociopaths the whole time, that they understood that this was coming, that they knew this was coming. My hope is that we'll just purge them. And yeah, sure, we should do it through our legal mechanisms and all that kind of stuff, but I mean, my fantasy is that we try all of these people for treason and have a public hanging, right? A couple thousand people, just like the guillotines, right? We could use a guillotine. I'm fine with that. Let's use a guillotine. I mean, for goodness sakes, like these people are worse than war criminals, right? Like, I say that the conservatives in this country are the most dangerous organization that's ever existed on Earth, and I include like the Nazis in that. And it's so obvious that they are, right? The Nazis weren't trying to destroy the whole planet, right? The conservatives are. The Nazis were, they were racist, crazed psychopaths, but they weren't trying to destroy themselves, right? The conservatives are. The conservatives are actively working to destroy themselves. So it's like this manic, insane death cult that doesn't seem... And it just doesn't seem like, because the leadership in the Conservative Party is so stupid and so illiterate and so unwilling to accept evidence, facts, or anything as real or true, because all they respect and understand is wealth and money for themselves, they're completely unfit to be involved in the political process at all. And yet they're the ones who have the most amount of resources to be able to influence it, because they're so irredeemably evil that they're willing to backstab, betray, steal, thieve, do whatever it takes. Like, it's completely telling that Doug Ford, like, who his credentials are that he is a rich sociopath. So it makes complete sense that he becomes the leader of the Conservative Party, right? Because that's who the conservatives are. Anyway, I've been thinking about, like, imagine you were watching a play. I think about this. I get ideas for plays and stuff. My background's theater. And here's the name of the play. We're on the train to Auschwitz. That's the name of the play. We're on the train to Auschwitz. And the entire play is a comfortable middle-class looking family on a cart, on a train cart. And they're just living their lives. But the only way the car moves down the track is if they themselves pedal a bicycle that is in the train. It's in their cart. And they know that the train, or eventually they'll discover or they'll learn that the train is on the tracks to Auschwitz, that they are heading to a place to be gassed and killed immediately, and they will still get on that bicycle and they will still pedal that bicycle. I think about that play. That play jumped into my head a couple of days ago. And I think about that. And to me, it is this interesting analogy that I think is worth talking about. Because if there are survivors from this, and I don't suspect that there will be, honestly, but if there are, I think the major thing that we will need to be discussing and talking about this era is, how is it when we knew how high the stakes were, that we refused to prevent our own destruction? Why did we keep getting on that bicycle? Why did we continue biking the train to Auschwitz? It's just like the story I'm writing, Boat. It's about a young lady who lives on a boat. And the boat is her society. And the people of the boat, their primary job is to tear the boat apart from the inside out, so that they can send the wood up to the top levels, so the wealthy people who own the boat, can build taller and taller towers with it. And when the protagonist asks them, well, what are the towers for? Because all of the rooms will be empty. All of the rooms will be empty. No one will be able to use them. And when the protagonist asks, well, why are you even building these towers? The only response she'll get will be to show people how great we are. And I really think that's all it is, right? When Donald Trump stood up and said, "Make America Great Again," the only way that he could believe that America would be great is if he was the leader, right? Because if you're a sociopathic narcissist, if it doesn't include you, then it cannot be great. And so this really is, like, I consider this to be my duty, right? Like, I was raised in the arts. I tried to be an artist, but the society, like, this society does not allow that to happen to any real level, right? It's telling that the most recent Canadian artistic success story is Schitt's Creek, which is like a dynastic legacy, right? Back when you actually could have artists, people like Eugene Levy were in SCTV, right? And throughout the years, he managed to collect a group of people around him, and then created something like Schitt's Creek with his son, which I think is lovely. It's a lovely story and good for him, but you're not going to see that kind of thing happen from this generation. You're not going to see new artists create something like that's not going to happen. Not in any serious sort of level. Because all of our artists are working at Starbucks. And so I consider it my duty to take whatever time I have, the little shreds of time that I have, and work on my art and work on what I think needs to be done, which is explain to the future generation, should there be any, how was it that we refused to prevent something that was obvious and right in front of us? Why did we destroy ourselves so perfectly and thoroughly? I think we owe it to them to have a serious discussion about that obvious mental dysfunction that exists within the human consciousness. All right, that's the end of me, guys. Good luck out there. Have fun. Have a smoke. Talk to your neighbors. Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. Share it around. What the hell? Good luck out there, guys.